It's hard for me to believe this, but I've been a retirement advisor now for over 20 years. And during that period, I've helped successfully guide hundreds of families into retirement. And today I'm going to share with you, don't tell anyone, but the 5 dirty secrets of retirement planning that nobody else will tell you about. The first one is that over 50% of Americans have $0 saved for retirement. That's a really, really scary situation. Number 2 is a little less scary, but still very startling to me. And that is, I talked about the 50% have $0 saved. If you look up to 80% of all Americans have less than $100,000 saved for retirement. So as a country, we're doing poorly. Hopefully you're watching this video. Hopefully you're doing some things to sacrifice today for your future self. But those are 2 of the secrets that I think are super important, particularly when we look at secret number 3, which is, guess what the average Social Security check size is? As of December of 2023, according to the Social Security Administration Office, the average American Social Security check in retirement is just under $1,800. It's $1,796, somewhere around there, but it's just under $1,800. And if you're planning on living on Social Security, I don't think that's you if you're watching this video, but yes, you're going to have a roof over your head. Yes, you're going to have food on your table, but you're not going to have a lot of niceties. So these are things that we all need to know as we're looking at our own retirement planning. I want you to stay to the end because these first ones are quantitative. These are numbers. But at the end, I'm going to talk about some surprises from a mental standpoint of what it's like to actually retire and what the surprises there are. Number 4, average healthcare costs outside of Medicare from the time you're 65 and older, according to Fidelity, and they do great research. They have got their educational materials are really first class. So according to Fidelity Investments, the average 65-year-old who has Medicare can still expect to pay, any guesses on what you're going to pay for healthcare costs before you pass away from 65 plus? Believe it or not, the average person, it's $150,000 a person outside of what Medicare costs. So it's not enough to get on the Medicare plan. You're still going to have expenses. So if you're looking at your own financial plan and putting in the numbers, definitely include, you're going to have fairly significant healthcare costs. Now, the challenge is it tends to be a barbell where you don't have many expenses early in retirement, but later in retirement, none of us know how expensive that's going to be. In fact, that's point number 4, that 80% of Americans that make it to the age of 65 are going to need long-term care insurance. And long-term care insurance for a nursing home average is $8,000 to $10,000 a month. So that's full-time care in a nursing home. And your in-home care, the average for that in the United States is $5,000 a month. And this is in addition to that $150,000 that Fidelity shared with us. Now I'm going to give you a bonus. So those are the 5, right? 50% of Americans have $0, 80% have under $100,000. Number 3 was your Social Security average check is $1,800 or less. Healthcare costs, even with Medicare, is $150,000. Then 80% of us are going to need long-term care. So those are the big 5, but let me share with you a bonus. So thanks for staying to the end. So here's the bonus, is retirement is a great experience. And I really encourage folks that can afford to retire early to seriously consider doing that. However, it's not all sunshine, rainbows, and ponies once you retire. There are 4 phases to retirement. There's things we can be doing now so that when we enter retirement, we can have as joyful and as fun and adventure-filled retirement as we want and meaningful, filled with relationships and friends. But there's things we need to be doing now, and I think it's important we all understand what the 4 phases of retirement are before we enter them so that we can tweak things along the way and be better prepared for it. Okay, phase number 1 is fun, and I want you to make this last as long as you can. Phase number 1 is when you first retire, it's like, finally, I can take this pressure of my job off of me, right? And I call this the honeymoon period. And this can last anywhere from 3 months to 2 years, where it feels like a vacation. You sleep in, feels good to sleep in. Maybe you go on vacation and you hang out at a beach, you relax on the beach, you go travel, you relax, and you think, I could do this forever. This is wonderful. And I wish it did last forever. But you know what? Again, in over 20 years, I've never seen it last forever. Now, some people go from phase 1 to phase 4, which phase 4 I'm going to talk about in the middle at the end here, but most of us are going to go through this valley, which is phase 2 and phase 3. In phase 2 is loss. We're going to feel a loss. We're going to feel a loss of relationships. You know, a lot of us have good friends at work, and we're going to miss those friends. And, you know, even with the best of intentions, the reality is we're not part of that group anymore. We don't share that common purpose, and we don't have a reason to get together on a daily basis. So even your closest friends, when you're retired, even your closest work friends, you're likely going to lose some of those, and for sure the relationship is going to change somewhat. It has to, by definition, because you're not working on the same projects. Okay, so it's loss of relationships, it's loss of a routine. As painful as it can be to, you know, wake up at 6 a.m. and do a 45-minute commute into work and a 45 commute home and deal with the traffic, as painful as that is, at least it's a routine. And when we first retire, we lose that routine. So we lose relationships, we lose our routine. Many of us also are gonna lose our purpose and our identity. Now that depends. Some people have a very strong sense of purpose outside of work. And if that's you, that's gonna help, because this is a valley, this is a painful valley that we've got to go through. So phase 1 is vacation, phase 2 is a feeling of loss, and then phase 3 is really trial and error. It's an effort to reinvent yourself. So, you know, what's your new purpose going to be? What's going to get you out of bed and get excited? And so, you know, hopefully the first thing you try, you're going to say, wow, this is great. I love it. But the reality for most of us is it's going to take 2, 3, maybe a half a dozen different things. You know, we try Habitat for Humanity. We try getting more involved if we go to church. We start coaching the high school football team, or, you know, we start traveling around the world, and maybe that's our new identity. We're going to be a nomad. And I chuckle because I lived that life during the pandemic as a nomad. And it's a great, great life, but I can tell you, it's not for everybody. There's definitely huge, huge pros and lots of nice things associated with it. But you know what? It also drains your energy, and particularly if you're traveling by yourself, you lose your routine. Anyways, it's this effort to reinvent yourself and find out who are you in retirement. Hopefully you figure that out in the first 1, 2, or 3 things that you try. But I do have clients that it took a half a dozen to a dozen things until they found their new thing. And then finally, phase 4 is where you have reinvented yourself. This is your new you, and you're in retirement, and you found that purpose. And the good news is you're going to look back at your pre-retirement years when you were still working and say, you know, if you could have retired 5 years earlier, now that you've gone through that valley, now that you have your new you, you're going to look back and say, I wish I had retired earlier. And that's really what this video is about, is 5 reasons to retire as soon as you can. The vast majority of my clients look at their post-retirement life after they've gone through that valley, and they think, I wish I had gone through this valley sooner and quicker. So I want you to watch this video here. 5 reasons to retire as soon as you can. Thanks for watching this video. I'll see you in there. Bye-bye.